Hi guys, Interloko asked me to make a video about what I think the current state of MK1 is, and what do I think's going to be, coming in year 2. What are we excited for? This is being made before the Comic-Con panel. And so, yeah, if you guys don't know me, I'm TotalMK. I've been making movies on YouTube, videos, sorry, on YouTube for like, 18 years. I've been a Mortal Kombat fan since the start. I'm 47 years old, so I've lived through all of it. Everything. The arcade era, MK1, those were the days. And so, yeah, that's a bit about me. And now, I'm going to answer these questions. So, the first question that Interloko had for me was, what do you think they'll show at Comic-Con? So, oh, by the way, I did buy the premium MK1. We didn't get collectors in Australia, unfortunately. I'll put that up there. Alright, so. Okay, so. What do I think they will show at Comic-Con? I think it's going to be basically a showcase of what's coming in Mortal Kombat 1. I think there'll be a Combat Pack 2 announcement. There'll be definitely a story mode expansion announcement. What I'm hoping for, though, is the other stuff. And I don't know if there will be other stuff. I'm just hoping that there's going to be a bit more information on Invasions. See, they just had the combat cast. And it seems like they're still supporting Invasions at the moment. So I don't know if it, like, I've heard rumors that Invasions might go away or fade away into the background and something else might come into the game, or maybe they're just going to put an update into the game that drastically changes what Invasions is. We won't know until 6 days time, 7 days time, until I announce it. But I'm hoping for something like that, some more modes. I think as someone who is a solo player, I've played one match online of Mortal Kombat the whole time. That doesn't the whole time on retail. That doesn't include the beta and that. The stress test or whatever. I just enjoy to play the game by myself. Basically, like, I'm good at the old games, but these new games are too advanced. Like, when you get to my age, your reflexes aren't the same. Your memory goes. You get dyslexia, which is always fun, especially when controllers are XYAB, YXBA. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. Mortal Kombat's just become too far for me. Like, I played on the arcade and I love the arcade. I like the simplistic approach to it, where it's very simple yet advanced in how are you going to execute those simple set of moves to win the match, like with your ranging and stuff. And all that stuff still exists in MK now, but there's just all these other things that you have to take into account. And unfortunately there's bugs sometimes where something doesn't work on player 2 side but works on player 1 side, and things like that were prevalent in the arcade, because when you fight Reptile on Mortal Kombat 1 arcade, you only get 1 million points when you beat Reptile, but you're supposed to get 10 million on player 1 side. If you do it on player 2 side, you get the 10 million. So there's always bugs that are like that. And anyway, yeah, that's my answer to that one. Let's go on to the next one. Next question. I'm just reading these off Twitter here. What is your balance of year 1 of the game? What is your balance? I think that's more like what I was just saying, like, what features can we have added in? What would make it better? I think there's there's been some good changes in Mortal Kombat 1. The skins being 500 Dragon Crystals is a really great change. I went very hard against Warner with the Halloween fatality. I really hated that. Like, we should never have to pay for fatalities. Don't ever do that again. Like, I still think the announcers are too much in the game, but I like to see change. and I make the videos for change. I am a whinger. I know. I'm a big whinger. There's a lot of things I don't like in the game. I don't like excessive diversity, you know, characters that are, you know, female characters are covered up now, and I just think some of the fun is gone from the game when you do things like this. And I'm an old guy, so you got to understand that I grew up with all this shit my whole life. Movies, TV, you know, video games, everything was like that, and that's what I like to play. So as you get old, you get nostalgic, you want to remember the old stuff, and then you play the new stuff, and it's awful. Like, there's like none of the fun in it anymore. There's none of the skimpy outfits. Or, I mean, the violence is still there, but there's no pit. I feel like even the violence has been reduced in this game. Do you know what I mean? As violent as the fatalities are, that's the only time. The fatality window is the only time that it feels brutal. And maybe when you're in the corrupted forest and Shang Tsung's laboratory are the only times when there's like dark, you know, environments and things like that. And I feel like coming from Mortal Kombat 1, especially Mortal Kombat 2, it really raised the curtain on like foreign threat. Like, and when I say foreign threat, I mean you go to Outworld, and Outworld looks fucking dangerous. Like, you think about the first Mortal Kombat. See, the first 3 Mortal Kombat games are they tell a story. It's a trilogy. It really is. The first game is a battle to save Earthrealm. The tournament is held between Earth and Outworld in the middle, in a neutral place on Shang Tsung's island. And then in the second game, you go to Outworld because they propose a new set of rules, blah, blah, blah. And so you go into the Lion's Den, and that's what the game tells you. The game is scary. The Deadpool is scary. Level 1, you start like fighting in front of acid or slime. You know, level 2, you know, you got the spikes on the roof. Level 3, you got the wastelands with all the dead bodies in the background, all the skeletons piled up. Mortal Kombat 2 like really set a tone of the game, and this one does too. But unfortunately, and I know it's kind of tricky with this game because it's like Liu Kang's new era, and that's what the point is. The point is that it's supposed to be like happy and look, we got rid of evil. I get that, but it's not a Mortal Kombat game without it. That's the problem. It's like another example I got, RoboCop. The old RoboCop is such a great movie, but it wouldn't be great without the gratuitous violence. It is scary what they do to Murphy. It's so brutal that it's like so inhumane that it makes RoboCop. He comes back from the grave. You know, even though he's a robot, he's still sort of alive. He shouldn't be. You know what I mean? They did something so inhumane to bring him back. Anyway, that's an example. When you look at the new RoboCop they made, they took all the violence out, made it PG-13. I'm like, this movie has lost all the soul. They just got the character there. They got 8209. There were parts that were good, but it's not the same without that. You need it. It's a component that's missing that makes up the film, and it's the same with Mortal Kombat for me. I need there to be a pit fatality in every Mortal Kombat game, because I'll tell you why. Because MK1 had it, and 2 had it, and 3 had it, 4 had it, Deadly Alliance didn't have it, Deception had it, Armageddon had it. Do you see what I'm saying? You've established a pattern now, and for you to suddenly go, there's no pit anymore. Do you know what I mean? That's like, well, put that on the list of everything else that's missing, like the sexy women and the good costumes, and you know, and the uppercut sound, the excellent, when I uppercut someone, excellent, outstanding, superb. Where is all that? Like, there's a lot of stuff missing, you know. But in regards to the question of balance, you know, that's just how I feel. Some of these things need to be in the game, and I'm hoping that they bring more of those things in. And this is a long answer, I know. That's the crux of it. They need to bring some of that old flavor back into this game, just to bring it up, just to elevate it a bit. You can still keep it Liu Kang's new era, but you need to introduce a threat. See, when I first saw the story for Mortal Kombat 1, the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it was, and Shang Tsung, he gets called out, and you're a he's a snake oil salesman, he's selling bullshit, someone calls him out, my daughter died. I'm like, that's great storytelling. That's how a good guy becomes bad, right? And you can see it there. But they did nothing with it. I mean, there's a bit in the story, but it's not overreaching. There needs to be more. Like, you have Shang Tsung's lab as a background, but it's like, it's not connected to anything. It's just, that's Shang Tsung's lab. Like, whereas, like, when I'm saying in MK2, you go to Outworld, all the levels are Outworld levels. It's part of the story. You're in a foreign place, blah, blah, blah. So they need to do more with, like, things like Corrupted Forest. I always say this, Corrupted Forest is such a cool background. And they do nothing with it, other than it just looks cool. Like, there needs to be some sort of interactivity. There needs to be stage fatality. That make it cool. Make it part of the fight. Bring it into the foreground. Bring the background into the foreground. If that makes sense. Bring the foreground into the background. The characters are foreground. The background is the background, right? So when I hit the character on a stage fatality from the foreground to the background, you're crossing them over, right? A foreground element becomes a background element, and a background element interacts with a foreground element. Do you see that crossover that I'm talking about? When you don't have it, it just feels, I don't know, lacking. So. Alright, next question. Last question. How do you see the franchise in general? The franchise in general. Well, this isn't about Mortal Kombat 1. This is about the franchise. I mean, I've loved Mortal Kombat my whole life, and that's no lie. Anyone who knows me knows I'm obsessed. It was the one thing that I latched onto, and I'm slouching. And you can see I love all TVs and movies and stuff. And I've played all the Mortal Kombats. I've played beta copies. I've reverse engineered the games like Interloko does. Some of the old games. I've extracted textures. I've extracted Shaolin monks. I've found hidden sounds that no one even knows about. Do you know what I mean? I've done all sorts of stuff. And a lot of you guys might not know about it because I did that stuff like ages ago. Before Twitter was big and before people blew up on Twitter for being data miners and stuff. This is stuff that I did. I still do it sometimes. I haven't played around with this game yet. Because they do it. I don't, do you know what I mean? Like Interloko and a lot of the time, and Interloko and Thinny and Murdoch and all these people, and I've known Murdoch for a long time too, from the IRC chat days. But yeah, anyone who does this reverse engineering will tell you, you put a lot of time into this shit to figure out things, to find things, to dig through things. I remember when I was during the lockdown, I got into some Shaolin Monks files, and I found some of the renders, the select screen renders, and I was really happy. And I was trying to find the others, and there's so many files that you got to go through manually, and you got to set the color palette manually for each file to see if this is the character. And it's about 1,000, 5,000, and you just, I don't know, you try and discover a pattern. Like, okay, if this render at that size is 10K, then you look at all the other 10K ones, and maybe you'll find its neighbor, because that's the way it works in a lot of the games, when the file size is usually the same, regardless of the character. That'll give you a clue. You can do things like that, but you have to do all this stuff, and you just have to dig, and it's just time consuming. You need tools, and as decent as a data miner as I am of the old games, I do need tools. I can't come up with tools. Someone like Ermacker, he'll write tools to get results. Do you know what I mean? I'll use BMS scripts or decompilers or decompressors or whatever's out there to get in there. I'll dig through like the hex and stuff too and find stuff, but yeah. So, and I'm totally off track, but the franchise in general, I mean, I love Mortal Kombat. This one for me has been probably the worst one. Other than Special Forces. Fuck that game. But, look. I just think if, especially, you need to look at the NetherRealm games. The last 3 games, MKX, and not 9 because that's a midway game. MKX, MK11, and this one. I feel like the diversity is affecting the games. It's affecting the fun. And it's something that I'm very outspoken about. You guys have seen me on Twitter. You've seen me get into some strife. You know, but I think MKX had a perfect balance of diversity, and it was still felt like a great MK game. It had the pit, the characters looked great, the female models and skins were awesome. There were still a few things missing that I complained about, like the select screen music not being there and stuff. But I didn't like some of the story. It felt jarring, and I do think they changed the story to suit a bit of the diversity, because the Combat Kids are a diverse set of characters, and if you look at the time 2015, they line up with what was written on paper for diversity checklist sort of thing. And I do think they changed the story, and that's why it jumps around 10 years ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Because we had a story established from MK9 of Revenant characters, and they got sidetracked for this new storyline of the Combat Kids. And it doesn't mean that's bad. See, a lot of people think when I criticize something that I'm shitting on it, right? No. I just think it's not as good. You know, and I think if you had something different planned, you shouldn't change it. What was that season of... the season of the Huntress? We definitely wouldn't want to change our Chaos Realm skins to Melina skins, would we? Do you know what I mean? It's just not good. Just don't do it. Like, you know, you can have diversity in the game, but don't change pre-established characters. Don't change the names, and don't use that bullshit excuse where it's a different universe, it's a different timeline. Fuck off. We're sick of that crap. That never existed until MK9. And when MK9 did a timeline, it was fucking perfect. Because, you know why? The characters were still the characters. Sonya from the old timeline is the same Sonya in the new timeline. It told a new story at a new time without fucking with any of the characters. Jax was still the same Jax. Do you know what I mean? Johnny Cage was still the same Johnny Cage. Scorpion was the same. They might have gone different directions in their story. Different events may have happened. But the characters, they didn't change anything. They didn't change. Oh, he's my cousin now. He's not my son. You know, I'm not his son anymore. I'm his cousin. Why change all this crap? Like, you can't... And one of my biggest gripes is that you can't have pink Sub-Zero. I'm sorry. Because Sub-Zero is blue. I don't know how much more basic I can be. Sub-Zero wears blue because he shoots ice. Like, Scorpion wears yellow because he mocks Sub-Zero for being a coward. Those are like, and you can argue new timeline, all this shit all you want, but I'm sorry, those are the characters, you know. And if you go and play MK2, you know, Scorpion realizes that Sub-Zero, that's a different Sub-Zero, so he doesn't kill him. He protects him. But he still keeps the yellow. He still mocks the original Sub-Zero who murdered him from the first tournament. Do you know what I mean? That is like lifelong Japanese honor sort of thing, right? When you change things like that, you're muddying the waters of how your characters should be written, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? And that's my opinion, you know? A lot of people have my opinion, though. A lot of people don't like when you change all these things. You know, your characters lose their identities. And I'm not lying when I say this, guys. I'm just going to say it, and you can say it if you're stupid then if you want. Sometimes when I'm just sitting here playing Invasions, like I'm half asleep, and I see one of the ninjas characters comes up, I go, oh, it's Scorpion, and it's literally, it's Sub-Zero. Advice, oh, okay, I gotta fight Sub-Zero. Oh, wait, no, that's Scorpion. I can't tell, because the characters all look the fucking same. Do you know what I mean? They're wearing green. They lose a bit of that instant sort of identification. They're a bit of their identity. They're all wearing the same colours and they all have like the ninja outfit until you like pay a bit more attention. Oh wait, no, he's got the rope. Okay, that's Scorpion. Oh, he's throwing ice. That's Sub-Zero. But you know what I mean? But like you look at first, and sometimes I get them wrong because I'm like they all wear like I'm on the reptile season now, so they're all wearing green. You know, it's like I just think you can't do this to your characters. You got to stop. Please stop. Because, for me, that's what makes Mortal Kombat characters. They're so iconic when you look at them. And I don't want them to look generic or same. Every character, you think about MK1, it's such a perfect example. Not this MK1, sorry. Mortal Kombat Arcade. And that's something else I hate about this being called Mortal Kombat 1. I really, really detest that. But you look at the original arcade game of Mortal Kombat, you got 7 characters who are so diverse in their look, all from different backgrounds, all have different powers, and without even knowing their names, you know what they're about. Do you know what I mean? Raiden, okay, I see the lightning behind him on the select screen. Select screen is very important. It tells you who the character is before you pick him, right? So when you select Raiden, you know he's the god of something. You can see the lightning wrapping around his body. Zzz. And that's something that they took out a lot of the Mortal Kombats. It doesn't do that anymore. Like, I always liked that the lightning was around him. I'm like, shit, he can control lightning. You know? You pick Johnny Cage with the sunglasses, and you see the bright lights behind him. Okay, movie star, right? Or famous person, famous guy. You see Kano. He looks bad. He looks evil. Red eye. Sort of got that cheeky smirk on his face. Looks like a criminal. You know. Liu Kang looks honourable. You know. Then you got Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Scorpion is looking straight at you on the Mortal Kombat 1 select screen. Straight at you like this. He exudes confidence. He will get revenge, right? And Sub-Zero's doing this. His head's turned a bit sly to the side like that. And he looks very sneaky, very cunning. Do you know what I mean? And, right? And then you got Sonya. And she, I don't know. Her mugshot's a bit hard to tell. But when you see her fighting, okay, she's a martial artist. She's got the special forces background, okay. But those character portraits are so important. Do you know what I mean? And these days, they don't even do the backgrounds behind the characters anymore. It's just a character and a gradient background. And that's something that started on Mortal Kombat Armageddon. And I remember when I was at E3, they had the move list stuck to the side of the thing that the game was in. And it had the characters with their backgrounds. And then when the game came out, they did that. They took the backgrounds off. And they changed them to coloured gradient backgrounds. And I begged Midway for that art. I knew they had it because it was on the machines. And they didn't want to give it up. And for weeks, I kept asking for it. Please, please. The community will love this stuff. No. They didn't want to give it out, you know. And I didn't give up. I wasn't giving up on that. I just thought, and if you can look up any video. I see my stuff used because that was an exclusive to TotalMK. Those pictures being released were exclusive to me. I didn't watermark them. I should have, because everyone's used them now on YouTube videos. I see them in everyone's videos. Uncaged Games, even in the old days, I see there's my images being used. But I wanted that. I wanted them out there for people. I just wanted someone to maybe throw me a bit of credit too. But I got them because I didn't give up. And when an opportunity presented itself, they finally handed me the Photoshop file that has all those portraits in it. And I'm glad we got that, because that was one of the last times that we ever had the characters with the backgrounds, and I got them in a nice resolution. So if you extract them from the game, like I was talking about reverse engineering, those portraits are only 100 and I think 64 by 64 pixels, and in the file I got they're 256 by 256. So there you go, 4 times the resolution. You know, some of that resolution doesn't carry over. Some of the portraits that they made, they had to use a lower image. They look a bit jagged, but most of them, the resolution does carry over because a lot of those renders they used were promotional renders, so they already existed in a higher resolution. So, and it's great. And I can actually even, and I'll put up an example in this video. I can even just, I have access to this. No one else does. I can just turn the character off, and you can just have the background. You know what I mean? So, something that's cool about having that Photoshop file, you know, that was really cool. Rest in peace, Midway, you know. But, yeah, no. So, I'm sorry if I've gone too long here talking about this stuff, but this is just how I think about the current state of Mortal Kombat. And I do have hope that Mortal Kombat 1 will get better with some new modes and things like that. And we'll just have to wait and see. And I'm just hoping there's something really, really big at Comic-Con. Animalities, stage fatalities, yes please. And that's it. This is TotalMK signing out. Thanks again, Interloko.